So as we look at our concepts of self and kind of who we are, how we view ourselves, that can include things like personality, temperament, all those things. Part of this is our identity and how we view ourselves, right? And so when we look at key researchers within this area, the biggest one is going to be this guy, all right? So Erikson. He's probably one of the most well-known developmental psychologists, and he has the different stages of our psychosocial development, all right? And what he's saying is that during each of these stages, we have opportunities to develop parts of our identity and who we will be as a person. So, for example, he talks about during infancy, that first year of life, we have a very basic conflict, and it's trust versus mistrust. All right. So we want to basically see, are your needs being met during that time? All right. So when a baby is hungry, when the baby is tired, when a baby needs anything whatsoever, it has no means of communication, really, has no means of providing for itself. It's physically, literally impossible for a baby to provide for itself. It is completely reliant on a parent or other caregiver. So when a baby is crying and they need something, is there a response? Is there someone there picking it up and trying to console it or to feed it when it needs to change its diaper, to keep it clothed and keep it bathed, right? Are its needs being met? If so, they are likely to develop trust in the world, right? And if those needs are not being met, they're most likely going to develop a mistrust of things happening in the world and other people. And then based on how they resolve or don't resolve that conflict, it's then going to influence all the other stages, according to Erikson, that comes forward. And that's going to be their general approach to life, right? So for each of his different stages, there's a basic conflict of one thing versus another. And we want to see how that particular child or adult, because these stages go all the way up until death, how those stages will be resolved. And if they're resolved well, then we can see a positive impact moving forward on that person's identity. All right, so if we kind of move forward a little bit, one thing that we're going to see during adolescence, right? So we're looking at that middle school, high school range. The key basic conflict here is identity versus confusion. This is the time of life where we're really trying to figure out who we are, right? So if you are teaching kind of this age range, middle school, high school, you're going to see students kind of experimenting with themselves, trying different hairstyles, different styles of clothing, maybe different friends they hang out with, the interests and hobbies they have. They're really just trying to figure out who they are as a person. Okay, and so at this time, we also see a lot of almost, not necessarily rebellion against parents, but there is going to be some of that to a degree. And basically, it's because they need to kind of separate themselves, right? I am no longer necessarily a part of you. I need to be my own person, my own individual. And are they going to be able to develop that identity and a sense of who they are, or is it going to lead to confusion? And if they have that confusion moving forward, it just makes everything else a little more difficult. All right, so Erikson has all these great stages that kind of contribute to our overall identity. And what we want to do as teachers is try to help students figure out who they are, right? Because what we can see is that if you have that clear sense of self, if you have that clear sense of who your identity is, it acts as a buffer against negative influences, right? You're more able to resist peer pressure and other things of that nature. And it's also very closely linked to personal motivation, right? So the better that we understand who we are as a person, the clearer our identity is to us, the more motivated we are. And so we can kind of see from a teacher standpoint, there's nothing more that we can ask for a better classroom than have students who are self-motivated, right? These are the students who want to learn and are going to get things done, and it just makes everything so much easier, right? So we want to consider what are some things that we can do from the teaching side of things to help students more clearly see who they are as a person and develop, hopefully, those skills and values and attributes that will help them be good people in general.